It's nice to be here. It's been a little while since I have taught, I think a couple of months, but I was checking the names here and I recognize quite a few of you. So thank you. Welcome back to everybody that I have taught before. Hello, you all know I'm going to ask you to practice the chat box. Thank you. Hi, Michael. Hi, everybody. So many of you I actually have taught before. So thank you. If you remember me, I kind of like weird history. I like the cool stories of things that just, I don't know, make us all wonder, and the stuff they kind of make movies out of. I love history in general, but I especially love strange stories. And today is one of those strange stories that you probably won't hear about in your history books. Before we get to our story, though, I know we just asked you to practice the chat box. For those of you that have been here before, no big deal. I just like to get to know everyone. Let's start with you can tell me what grade you're in the chat box, what grade, and let's go weird today. How about your favorite food? Totally random, not at all related to this story. What grade are you in, and what is your favorite food? I love to get to know you all, and we have a lot of us here today. So in the chat box, take a second. You don't have to write a sentence if you're not very good at typing. Just tell me a little bit about who's here today. I want to know, what kind of grades do we have? There we go. Let's see. Oh, chicken teriyaki. That is one of my children's favorite foods either. Let's see, everybody. You're going to know that I'm going to ask you to use the chat box, but I am going to ask you to use it appropriately, okay? So mac and cheese, sushi. Oh, we have grades. I think I'm seeing quite a wide range of ages. Everybody from like kindergarten through, I think, grade 6, maybe so far is the highest I've seen. Sushi. Love sushi, by the way. Thank you. William, his favorite food is candy, and I can't blame you. All this talk is making me hungry, though. I think if I had to pick my favorite food, I don't know, it changes a little bit, but I definitely like foods from different places. So I love noodles, like Japanese noodles, Chinese. I love noodles. Um, I really like fruit too. I don't know if anyone here, I haven't seen that. I've seen a lot of candy, but my favorite, I think, food of all time is mangoes. I love mangoes, and we grow them where I live. And if you're looking at the screen right now, you will see that I am from the fantastic state of Florida. And most of the time, it is very, very warm here. That's why I choose to live here. I live the very southern part of the United States. And we are fortunate to be able to grow things like mangoes and oranges and lemons. And I think I even saw avocados. So, love in general, anything that we can grow on the trees here. And when it's fresh, it's my favorite. All right. We've got everybody talking about what they like. It's right. I saw somebody, you guys, the chat box is for positive things, right? So I don't want any private conversations, and there absolutely should be no argument. Hopefully we'll keep it interesting enough that you won't need to worry about what's going on in the chat box, okay? Hopefully you'll pay attention to me today. While we're here, you'll see this screen's kind of about me and my family. I've just told you I'm from Florida. I want to know where you guys are all from. We've got like 30 students here today. Where's everyone from? You can tell me, even if it's just, you live in Canada. Perfect, Ariana. Thank you. Jason, we've got quite a few of you all from Canada. I see at least a couple specific saying like Ontario. Very good. Thank you. I know where all of that is. There's so many of you. I heard Oakville as well. Very, very, very good. Fantastic. We got I think a couple of people from Oakville. Yeah, it looks like same thing, Brandon. I was wondering the same thing. Looks like a lot of people are in Canada. Not everyone. Looks like maybe both Jeremys are in Beijing right now. Brandon, you're in Beijing. Perfect. Well, I teach students kind of all over. A lot of my students are in China, but I also have a few students in Canada. Been there a few times. I love it. Have never been to China. Hopefully someday, certainly once this virus passes, I would love to go. I should probably get you all to our topic of the day. If I can get it to go today, might cooperate. All right. Today's lesson is from the enormous country to China's north, Russia. Tell me in 1 or 2 words, if you can, what you know about Russia. Maybe you already something I've already said, but tell me what you know in 1 or 2 words about Russia right now. My chat box does not want to open again. For some reason, it's going back. Sorry, guys. Let's see what we get. Okay. Used to be the USSR, very good. Some people have mentioned that it's communist. Thank you, Mickey. That's kind of what we're getting at. It's huge. It is an enormous country. Enormous country. James Bot. All right. Somebody knows about Putin. Quite a few people say that it was the former Soviet Union. Very, very good. Well, if you don't know a lot about Russia today, you're going to get a little sneak peek of it, a little introduction to it. It is an enormous country. Even if you look here at this map, kind of in perspective, it's enormous. It's really, really big. Now, that doesn't mean there's some parts of it I'm not sure you'd want to live in, because I didn't hear this one in the description so far, but it's extremely cold. A good portion of, in fact, if you look at the map right now, I'll try to grab a color that maybe you'll see, maybe the black will show up. A good portion of Russia, like right up here, well, even maybe more than that, about from here up, is above what's called the Arctic Circle. So it means that it stays frozen. The ground stays frozen all year long. Today's story is actually coming from up in that part of Russia that really does not thaw out all year. So, okay, we are going to close this up. Okay, guys, we're not going to sit here and argue about what you know. Everyone did great. Thank you so much for participating. And those of you that are using it, I really appreciate you using it. It makes my job so much more fun. So today, I'm telling you a story called, it's a true story, called the Dyatlov Pass incident. Now, our story comes from Russia. So I have tried to minimize the names, like the names of the people and the places, so we could focus in on the story, just because the names are in Russian. So they're not going to be very familiar to me or to you. So this way we can just focus. Dyatlov Pass, that is a Russian name. It's the name for a specific area in a specific kind of mountain range is where this occurred. So this Dyatlov Pass incident, what happened here? Well, what I'm going to do, if you've been to my sessions before, I'll read, and if you can, please follow along. Try to read on the screen. If you're younger and you don't know the word, don't worry. The other kids here will also tell you that Miss Amity really likes vocabulary, so we review a lot, okay? We are going to review a lot. So just checking perfect. In February 1959, so we're talking like 60 years ago, okay, 9 experienced and well-prepared Russian hikers set off on a winter hike over part of the Ural Mountains. I'm going to say hike, it's the easiest word, but they were kind of hiking on what are called cross-country skis. They had to use skis to get through the snow where they were. So this was not a hike like through a pretty park that you or I might go on. This was a really long, difficult hike that they were going on. But who knows what the word experienced means? What does the word experienced mean? Experienced. I'm scrolling to make sure. Okay. A lot of stuff I don't need to pay attention to, guys. Please make sure you're responding to my questions, okay? Experience, done it before. Thank you. Who was that? I got to scroll up and see. Ariana, thank you so much. Thank you. Pro, Alina, Rusty, thank you. They know how to do something, really good at something. Henry, Max, thank you all for answering my question. I really appreciate it. Yes, experience means well-trained. These were not people that, this was something they had done like this before. Actually, for some of them, they were trying to get like a certification, like an award that made them like the best hikers in their country. Okay, clicking down here. See if I can get it there. So in order to get, you saw that star on the map last page, way up north, where they were going, way up north in Russia. They had to first travel by car as long as they could. Then after they traveled by car, they hopped into like the back of a kind of a truck that you see here. And they had, that truck drove them as far north as they could, after what point that was like last town available. There were no more cities north of them. So after staying in the last town available overnight, they hiked through the forest and came to a mountain where they began to climb up and along the mountains. Again, climbing up, they were on skis. So it's like it's not like a very steep mountain, like where you're going to be physically climbing straight up. They were kind of going like this, back and forth to get up the mountain. Okay. While they were climbing, the weather worsened and they decided to stop for the night. They set up camp right where they were. Let me check our chat box again. It's blowing up today back there. So let's just make sure I'm getting everybody's question. All right, so much going on that has nothing to do with this, guys. I would really appreciate it if you would stop so that everybody can pay attention. It makes it real hard for me to see the answers that are, or the questions. Okay, so again, it's kind of a strange map. This is actually more like a globe, the maps that are in round. That's how the Earth actually looks from space. So if you're in China right now, so I know a lot of us are not. I'm going to look. So here's Beijing, which means Shanghai. Well, I had some people from Beijing. So you can see here's Beijing over here. Dyatlov Pass is way up here. This is it. This is all Russia. This whole area is Russia, okay? But Dyatlov Pass is toward the north and the northwest. Clear that off. All right. You're going to see a lot of pictures in this story, a lot of pictures on the screen. And you're going to say, well, how do we not know what happened if there's all these great pictures? Well, if you look here, much of what we do know about Dyatlov, the Dyatlov incident, is because of the hikers themselves. They actually kept diaries and took a ton of photographs. And all of those things, their diaries and their cameras, were later found. So investigators used a lot of this stuff, and it's now out there. It's been 60 years. A lot of this information is out there, and we can actually see their last moments, because you're going to find out this didn't end very well. So real pictures. These are some of the real people. This was actually a group, like I said, of 9, but there was only 2 women and 7 men. Okay, this is what I mean by a diary. Again, I don't read Russian, but if you look, as we're sitting here on this page, you're going to see, you might be able to tell, it's very small, but you might be able to tell that this is Russian writing. Okay, so let me read this to you, and then we'll talk some more. I'm going to start right here where it says "we" at the top of the screen. We are forced to find new methods of clearing the path for the skis. The first member leaves his backpack on the ground, then walks forward, and then returns and rests for 10 to 15 minutes with the group. Thus, we have a nonstop paving of the trail. So let me pause there. You'll see the 3 dots. I'm stopping right here. I'm going to stop right here and get my color back. Okay. The snow was so heavy and so thick that they couldn't just ski through it. Somebody had to kind of like stomp in it through it, go out about 10, 15 minutes, and then come back so that they could make a place for the people to ski for 10, 15 minutes, and then they'd all stop. And then another person would go out because one person couldn't do it. So you can see it was very, very, very slow going, very difficult work, okay? Now, keep picking up right there. Wind is western, warm, and penetrating. The speed of the wind is similar to an air draft created by a taking off of an airplane. Let me ask you, do you think if they describe the wind as like that, which is created by an airplane taking off, does that mean that it's nice, gentle wind, or was that wind really blowing in their face? Describe what you think that means when they say similar to the air draft of a plane. Jamie, could you please stop, guys? I need you to, some of you are writing about things that are really just inappropriate for a classroom, okay? If we have to, we'll turn off it. We can turn off chat box for some if we need to. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Rusi, very, very good. I'm looking at names. Nathan. So wind that just gets through, we're talking really, really strong wind, extremely strong wind, big, thick snow, cold temperatures. Rusi even says like 300 miles per hour. Absolutely. Very, very strong wind. Yolanda, Alina, thank you guys so much. This was not conditions that I would even like to hang out, to like be outside, to like go get my mail in. This is what they were going to be in for a few weeks. This is what the weather was like when they went. So they were in firm open spaces, and I can't even start thinking of setting up a storage. It's close to 4, and we have to start looking for a place to pitch the tent. These are their own words. I told you they're writing in a diary, and I'm about to ask you what that is. These are their own words. Now, they didn't type this. You see how it's typed? Somebody later came and took their diaries and physically typed them so that the investigators could have them. What I want to do now is show you a video. Of course, it's not a video from this time, guys, because this was 60 years ago. So I do have, let me ask you actually in the chat box, guys, how many of you live where you get a lot of snow? How many of you live? I know you live in Canada, but not all parts of Canada get tons of snow. How many of you have lived where it gets a lot of snow, like snow that could cover your car? I wonder if anyone lives in that kind of places. No. William, some of you, Shanghai does not get that kind of snow. I know that I've talked. So many of you are saying, no, never lived there. Again, most parts of the world don't get this kind of snow, guys. I used to live somewhere that got a lot of snow like this, and you'll notice I don't live there anymore. Yes, you're right, Jaden. In Hong Kong, it'll never snow. Okay, well, so because of that, a lot of us have not, you have not experienced big snow. I want to show you a video clip, and I'll probably play it twice. This is what it's like to ski. I think the video was actually, when I looked it up, not that old, maybe 4 or 5 years old. And it's just a clip from a weather channel of skiers trying to ski in a blizzard. Let me hit play here, and hopefully everyone will be able to see it. I know sometimes people's audio and video doesn't kind of let them see the videos, but hopefully you'll be able to. You'll see, you can barely see in front of you. You can't see the trees. You can kind of hear the wind, right? I mean, imagine skiing and you skiing down a hill and you can only see so far in front of you. Okay, nope, stop, back. Let's play it one more time as I kind of finish up. This is exactly what I want you to picture. Hear the wind. This is what the skiers at Dyatlov Pass were facing, okay? A very different place than where most of us live. Where I live today in Florida, we don't get any snow, like ever. So I certainly don't have that anymore. All right, let's head back into our story. We're actually, take that back. We need to do some review first, guys. Okay, so I think I already asked you this question, but we'll click through it quick. I know the second one. So everybody in the chat box, tell me where this story, where this event took place. See what you remember. Where did this story take place? Why did it click out, guys? I was just trying to get to the chat box. Oh, perfect. Yes, thank you. I noticed somebody didn't even just say Russia. Who was that? That was, I'm trying to catch up. The chat box is filling up. Perfect. Russia, an extreme northern part of Russia, northwestern part of Russia. Very good. And specifically, it took place in the Ural Mountains. Okay, the Ural Mountains. Now, I know we're just going to go through this next one quickly because I already asked this. The word experienced means having done something a lot, many times before, kind of like a pro. This one, I think I did not ask. If you're able, I know not everybody can, not everybody's really good at typing. If you are, try to use experienced in a whole sentence. And some of you like writing in the text box so much. Maybe we could write and practice, okay? Write the word experienced in a sentence if you're able. So, for example, the skiers in this story were very experienced. I like to watch experienced football players. They're extremely talented. I'm giving you all a couple of examples myself because I know that writing can be kind of okay. I had a very, very, very good. I see some of you. She is an experienced doctor. Thank you, Alina. Perfect sentence. And I don't know your name, but he broke the sword with his head. I'm sorry, I can't read it. It's in Chinese. I had a very scary experience in the haunted house. Good job. Oh my goodness, our immune system has to have experience to know how to fight COVID. Yolanda, great job. Experienced soldier. We've got a lot of different. Thank you, Brandon. I am an experienced teacher. I've been doing this probably longer than most of you have been alive. Okay, you guys did great. And I will ask you to probably do that one more time. Not only does it give you practice using the word, but some of you typing in English, writing in English is a new experience. So fantastic, guys. Great job. All right, next question. What does the word diary mean? I said it earlier that the hikers, they had diaries. What are they? What's a diary? Maybe it's not a word you've ever heard in a book or anything before. Let's see. Thank you. Very good, guys. It's like a journal. Yolanda says it's secrets. It's like a private journal. Exactly. It's a record of your life, Rusi. That's a great, thank you. Yeah, it's a book, usually a blank book with paper in it that you write about what happens to you. And in this case, it wasn't necessarily personal or private. They were trying to remember everything that happened. This was long before these guys, long before cell phones, long before being able to take selfies and pictures of everything. So they wanted to remember it. They did want a journal, just Jade, fantastic, just like Lewis and Clark. They were much more similar to Lewis and Clark and why they kept diaries. They were doing something pretty impressive and they wanted to remember all of the details for when they got back. So it's a blank book where someone writes their thoughts. Here's a little harder one. Earlier, I said the wind was penetrating. Penetrating. Anyone have any guesses? What to penetrate or what penetrating? Like when I said the wind was penetrating. And then you saw that video of the skiers and you could hear the wind. Anyone have any idea? It's an interesting word. Strong. Very, very, very good. It's like, okay, so if you, yes, because that strong wind was blowing so hard, we would describe it as penetrating because I don't know if you've ever been in the extreme cold, but like, you know, when it can kind of like blow through your coat or blow through your hat and it's so cold, you cannot stay warm. We would describe that as like kind of a penetrating wind. It went right through your clothing, your coat, no matter what, and it could push through is kind of what penetrating means. Oops, go back and show you. To force through something into something. Okay. Back to our story. I'll ask you some more questions in just a minute. So what happened? Of course, I wouldn't be telling you this story if it was just a happy story of a bunch of hikers going out for a fun. I mean, every picture we've seen so far, they look happy. Well, the hikers were expected to return around or by February 12th. Everyone knew that they might have a little like leeway because they were going out for 2 weeks. But when no one heard from them by February 20th, a rescue team was sent out. It actually turns out, I don't kind of talk about this here, but there originally was one more hiker. And at the very, very beginning, he got sick. And so he stayed back in that little town that we talked about, the last stop. And they told him, we'll be back by February 12th. So when they hadn't gotten back, he was the first to alert people and say, hey, they were supposed to be back by now and they're not. And it took about 7 to 8 days for them to get a search team to get people to take it seriously and to go look for them. So February 20th, a search and rescue team went out. And on February 26th, the hikers' campsite was located. Notice, the campsite was located. All 9 hikers were missing. It was just the campsite. You're going to see a picture of it in a second. So before I go any further, what do you think happened? Any guesses? What do you think happened? Let's see. I think I'm going to get some interesting By the way, who is that said that? Charles, you're not the only person who says aliens. There's a lot of people. A lot of people say something weird like that happened. All of you are saying they died. Absolutely. But if they died, where are they? Okay. A lot of people are saying they died. Very good. They were covered by a blizzard. Jade, that's a good idea. Maybe they got eaten by a bear. The wind blew them off. You guys are very creative. Shannon, Bigfoot. That's not an answer my husband would give just because he likes to say that kind of stuff. All right. They got lost. A lot of people are saying, at least obviously they died. They got lost. I'm going to show you a picture of their campsite here, guys. And you're going to see how strange it is because why would they have left this behind? Let me show you their campsite. I'm going to come back here real quick. This is their campsite, and I'm going to show you part of a video here in a moment. This was what we're going to talk about in just a moment. Their skis were there. Their clothes were there. Food was there. They even had a stove that they kind of pulled with them to keep warm and cook food. And everything was on this campsite, was at this campsite when they found them on February 26th. But there was not a single body here at the tent. So died, yes, but doesn't make any sense where they were. If here's their campsite, they should have been nearby. So what I want to do now is again, this is a pretty famous story. There's actually whole websites and books and movies about it. So if you're ever interested, you can look it up. Let me tell you though, guys, the videos can get long and there's just so much information out there. So I'm just going to show you a clip, about a minute or two of a video about this, so you can hear and see some more photos and hear somebody else talk about it. Okay. So let's watch another clip of a video and then we'll come back and talk in just a moment. Make sure we have.
A few weeks later, friends and relatives begin to worry. No one has heard from Igor or any of the other members of the group. After much debate, a team of volunteers eventually head out to find them. On February the 26th, the search party is finally able to locate the camp on the slope. It's obvious to the first at the scene that something has gone horribly wrong. The tent is in scrambles, covered by a thin coat of snow. The hikers' belongings and equipment was found orderly placed inside the tent, but the tent itself had been slashed open with a knife from the inside. The next day, 9 pairs of footprints lead the search volunteers down the slope towards the nearby woods. Given that the footprints left rather mild indentations in the snow, would suggest that they descended the slope in a rather calm and orderly fashion, as opposed to running away in panic. The footprints could be tracked for about half a kilometer from the tent until the trail was completely covered by
I'm going to stop it right here just so you can see. I have a picture, a map. You're going to be able, basically, this is hard to see. If you're good at reading maps, you can kind of see that this is an edge of a mountain. They obviously hiked along this mountain down one side and we're coming back up the other side because the peak, the mountain that they were trying to go over is like, if you can imagine, it'd be like up that way. Okay. It's up over here. And so they were heading there. And this is where they were when they realized, it's getting late. The weather's getting bad. And we need to stop for the night. So they weren't far from like the highest point that they wanted to go. It doesn't quite look like it in some of the pictures. So I'm going to show you in just a moment here. Come back. All right, my friends. Don't worry, you're going to get more. I know you got some questions. Okay. I'm actually going to show you a picture here in just a moment. It looks kind of flat here, but it's not really. They're on the side of a mountain. Okay. So they find the campsite. But the campsite is kind of confusing. It really is. As might have just heard, the tent was crushed. You can see it here in this picture. The snow is like on top of the tent. It's crushed. And the tent itself has cuts, lots of some big and some small cuts all over it. Like someone took a big knife and went down the side of it. Okay. All of the hikers' gear was there. It was all neatly like stacked and folded in like each little spot for a hiker. And there was not a single person nearby. Not one body. So the next day, obviously they have to look in light. This is kind of a place where you need to have the sun out so you can see what you're doing. The next day, the searchers began exploring surrounding areas and find 9 undisturbed sets of footprints leading down to the woods. So, I'm going to ask you the words underlined. What do you think undisturbed means, folks? What does undisturbed means? Undisturbed. All right, I'm looking here. They had tons of food, guys. They did. They were extremely experienced people, guys. They even had a stove. They could cook food. Not a stove like you and I have, but a wood burning stove. Ella, I promise I tried to keep the details so it doesn't get too scary. And if it's scary, you don't have to listen. Okay. I did try though. Okay. So I'm looking for anyone. Oh, there we go. I'm getting some people. Not touched. Rusi, thank you. Not disturbed, not touched. Ella, perfect. Shannon, not disturbed. Undisturbed, if you remember, guys, UN, it means takes English words and makes them the opposite. So when I say undisturbed, it means not touched or not disturbed. So now we have this crushed tent, and walking away from it are 9. You can tell, especially if this is what you do for a living, you can see that these are individual sets of footprints. And there's 9 sets of them walking down the hill away from their tent. And it's not like, when you run, your steps are bigger, like you're going to run and you take kind of like leaping steps. These were walking steps. So it looks like they left their tent at some point very calmly. Okay. They left their tent in the middle of a blizzard. That doesn't really make sense, but that's what the evidence is showing. Keep going here. So this is kind of that picture I just told you. I wanted to make sure I showed you. So the picture we were looking at a minute ago is kind of like right up on the tent. The tent is like right here. And you can tell from the way the camera was turned, it makes it look, because if you look at, let me move this real quick. These guys, if you look at these guys right here, you can see that they're leaning back, right? So if you turn and rotate the picture the way it's supposed to be, you can see that the angle here, this is the angle. You can see that they're actually on a pretty good slope down into on the side of a mountain. You can even see if you look straight across here, here's another mountain peak. Okay, so this tent was located kind of near the top of a mountain peak, abandoned. Just none of it really makes sense. Let me ask you, you may not be experienced hikers, but do you think it's a really good idea to put a tent like on the top of a mountain? Or do you think it would be better to put the tent at the bottom of the mountain? Where do you think it would make more sense to put your camp, especially during a blizzard? See, we don't even have to be experienced hikers. William, Charles, you guys, everybody's getting it. It makes perfect sense to put the tent down at the bottom where there's going to be less wind. Yes, snow could come down, but you're going to hear an avalanche. But it's safer than being at top. The wind had to be pretty fierce up here. So we don't even understand why their tent is where it is. There must have been some reason. The weather must have gotten really bad for them to stop and say, we're going to camp right here. All right, let's keep going. I'm looking at keeping track of our time. So you guys, I have time for questions, but I still get to tell you guys the whole story. All right. So again, these are if you kind of look at the picture, you can kind of tell these are footprints, and you can see there are different sets of footprints. The footprints led to nearby woods. So here's the tent up here, and down at the bottom, there's like woods. The footprints led down to the woods, and at the edge of the woods, they found what looked and what was at one point a fire, wood in a pile that had been burned, clearly a small fire. Near this small fire, unfortunately, were the bodies of 2 of the hikers. Notice I'm going to leave it pretty, and I'd appreciate if some of you, because there are younger kids and just people who might not want to have this get ugly. So please, guys, keep the chat box appropriate, okay? 2 of the bodies of the hikers were found, and the hikers didn't have like, if you went out in the snow, you'd be wearing a big coat and a hat and gloves and boots. The hikers' bodies that they found by this fire didn't have their boots on. They didn't have their coats on. They were dressed in like just like shirts, t-shirt and pants, like they were going to bed. That doesn't make any sense. You don't go out into the blizzard in your sleeping clothes. Okay. Strange enough, right? Unfortunately, as they kind of continued to look around, they found 3 more bodies. And I'm going to show you a map here in a second. So here's the tent, here's the woods, the fire. They find those first couple bodies. And what they start doing is kind of going back and forth between this and looking in different places. And then they find, as they do this, they find 3 more bodies, kind of like they had tried to get back to the tent. Unfortunately, it took many, many, many months for them to find the final 4 hikers. They were located further down by a river, and they were covered in 4 meters of snow, you guys. 4 meters. Yes, 12 feet of snow, okay? That's a lot of snow. Makes sense why they couldn't find them. Let me check our chat box before I kind of talk about the map. Thank you guys. I appreciate some of you being really grown up and keeping it clean. Okay. All right. Jeremy, I think you're on the right track. Okay. So it looks like a lot of people just asking what happened? What happened? So let me kind of show you here on this map. This little inset right here is where I'm going to focus. Okay. So if you can imagine up here on the hill, this is their tent. And again, you can kind of see the lines. It's got cuts in it all over it. And as the searchers went looking down to the woods, it's about 1,500 meters. It's not like right next to the tent. They had to go down a hill, a big hill. This is where they find the first set. And then this is what I told you. They started doing this, going back and forth, trying to find people. And that's when they found the other bodies that were kind of, it looked, because they were all facing the direction like they had tried to go back up the hill. Okay. So within a day of the search starting, they find 5 bodies, and then the other 4 take a while. What happened? This is why it's a mystery, guys. We're going to talk about a few things, but to this day, this story, there are so many different theories about it. So many different theories. It's a really strange story, actually. Most things by now would have been completely solved. So I'm going to use another word, investigation. Investigation into what happened started immediately and actually has been going on since this happened. Many people still do not believe the Russian government reports about this incident. If you have an idea, what do you think the word investigation means? What does the word investigation mean? It's kind of a big word. You probably would have heard it on like a TV show maybe, or if you're a big reader, you might have heard it there. Oh, good job, guys. Jade, Brandon, Alina, very good. Discovering, Linda, thank you. Yes, it's the process of trying to find someone or something or to find answers. Okay. The process of trying to find someone, something, or to find answers. In this case, once they found the people, they were really just trying to find answers, right? Okay. The 4 hikers that were found months and months later down by the river, actually appeared to have injuries. They kind of looked like they had been hit by a car. They had broken bones. Okay. Or another investigator reports it as almost like they were like they had fallen. Now, if you had fallen 12 feet, maybe, or you had been hit by hit rocks but so some of them did have some injuries, but most of them, they really didn't appear to have major injuries. They just kind of looked strange there in the snow in their clothing without boots. The final 5 hikers are all believed to have died of hypothermia. Yes, there were some other injuries, like a cut on a leg and things like that, but nothing else should have killed them. Okay. So now they've found them all. They're dead, but we have no idea why. Okay. No idea why. So actually this picture, before I read the question, when I just told you they found them under 12 meter, 4 meters of snow, 12 feet. If you look at this picture, that's the bottom. They had to dig out the snow. This is the bottom of the riverbed where they were found. You can see how much snow comes in this part of the world. Okay. This is why, even 4 months later, it was impossible to find these people. So what do you think, guys? Why would hikers leave their tent in the middle of the night or the middle of freezing temperatures? Why do you think they left their tent? I know I'm going to get some alien responses, aren't I? It's okay. There's been lots of those theories over the years. Some people, it sounds like someone thinks they've been drinking. Okay. Yolanda, very good. Maybe they needed to get to a safer place. Someone said they went crazy or they got attacked. By the way, there's all of these are great ideas because people have said all of these ideas. Okay. All of them. In fact, I don't think I have it on here, but some of their pictures, the last pictures they took, remember, most of these pictures are from the hikers themselves. There's the last couple of pictures have some weird lights on them. So some people have said aliens, aliens landed and, they ran away scared and then died in the cold. Maybe even Bigfoot, Shannon. Well, what about the cuts in the tent? Does anyone remember me talking about the cuts in the tent? Why do you think they might have done that? Why might they have cut their tent even before they left? Why would there be cuts? Rather, remember the cuts we can tell are from the inside. Very, very good. Desperate escape, Ella. Good job. Faster escape. Very good, guys. They had to escape or get away. Why would you cut the tent when you could just kind of this tent like tied closed? So it would have taken them a little bit to get out, untying it. So it makes sense if you think about it, guys, that something caused them to want to get out. Okay. And maybe even at first they didn't need to get out. They just wanted to let some air in and out. So again, we're going to talk about this in a minute. There are tons of theories, including aliens, and all kinds of theories about maybe a local group of people threatened them and they tried to get away. But for the most part, let me click over here. I'm going to actually come back to our review here in a minute and show you, and then we'll come back to the review. For the most part, most people think that something happened in that tent, like maybe a fire. Remember I told you they had a stove that they put in the tent? There was no sign of fire. There was smoke on some of the clothing, but there was no sign of fire. Maybe the tent filled up with smoke and they tried to let it out, like by cutting little holes. And then when the tent filled up too quickly, they cut a big hole and tried to get away, which is why they walked away thinking, okay, we'll come back when we can. Maybe for whatever, we don't understand then why they wouldn't have come back. There's really, in fact, this first bullet point, if you look right here, guys, it says the official report from the government says that the hikers all died due to a compelling natural force, but really no explanation is given. And it's because of that report, and that doesn't really give an answer, it just says a compelling natural force, that to this day, people are looking for answers because that's not good enough. We all want to know what really happened. As I said, to this day, right, bullet point number 2, there's a lot of debate over this, a lot. There are many strange theories about bombings, UFOs, aliens, or even an attack by local people. However, most people believe that some sort of sudden event, maybe an avalanche, a fire in their tent, caused the hikers to cut and then run from the tent, expecting to return quickly, explaining why they didn't have their boots on, why they didn't have their coats. But for some reason, they were unable to return. And when they were unable to return, they built a fire and they waited. And then the cold got them. They may have had other injuries, but they all appear to have died from hypothermia. So I'm going to ask you here in a minute. Let's go back to my review page. Let's do some words. We already did this one, so I'm going to come here. I think in undisturbed, we've done investigation as well, but I think I have a sentence here. Yes, I would love for you all to either choose undisturbed or investigation and write a sentence in the chat box, whichever one you're comfortable with. And if you're not comfortable writing a sentence, don't worry about it. This is kind of me making sure everybody gets a chance to practice at their own skill level. Because some of us are much older and some of us are younger, and we should be, just learning words. Don't worry, Jamie, we're going to come to that word in just a minute. So, a sentence with the word undisturbed. Thank you, Alina. Or investigate. The police investigate the incident. Very good. Investigate or investigation. Either one works for me. We need to investigate to find out who poisoned the pizza, to find out who poisoned. We wouldn't say poisoner. Okay. We are investigating how to make, we are currently, many people researched and investigated how to make what we call the COVID-19 vaccine. The snow was undisturbed. Great job, guys. Charles, Jamie, Jade. Well, guys, I'm seeing some really, really good sentences. Charles, great. The investigation of the missing people started right away. Perfect sentence, Charles. Great job. Very good. All right, guys, thank you so much. Those of you that are writing sentences, I love to see you get some of my older students to practice. So I think it was Jade. I don't know. Somebody asked, what is hypothermia? So what do you think I'm going to make you do? If you have an idea, if you think you know what hypothermia is, write it in the chat box. What is hypothermia? Hypothermia. Very good, Brandon, Nathan, Charles. Good job, you guys. Larry, Shannon, very, very good, you guys. Very good. Rusi, you win it. You've got the closest. Hypothermia is not just extremely cold. It specifically means, the condition of having abnormally low body temperature. Body temperature. It's not that it's cold outside. It means that our body temperature gets below where it should be. And not by because some of us have lower temperatures. But for example, I know in Fahrenheit, I forget in Celsius, but it's supposed to be 98.6. And people can get extremely sick if their body temperature gets below 95 degrees. And people can die. This kills people, okay? Because your internal organs stop working properly. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to come back over to here. Some questions and some review. I'm checking my time before, because if you know me, guys, I like to leave about 5 minutes or so at the end for y'all to ask me questions. Okay, so let's see if you guys remember. Try to do both if you're able. Where and specifically when did this Dyatlov Pass incident take place? Where and when? Let's see who's got the most accurate. Oh, very good. We've got a number from James. James, very good. 19. I'm going to say it because I want y'all typing. Give everybody a chance. So many are getting the year right. 1959 in the beginning of February. February 1959 in Russia, in what's now the Soviet Union at the time, but far northwest Russia in the Ural Mountains. The mountain is U-R-A-L, Ural. In fact, let me write it on the screen because I know it's easier when we see it. Ural Mountains, okay? Ural Mountains in a place called Dyatlov Pass, right? So that's our location, and our year is 1959. Great job, guys. I'm always impressed with your memories because I'll say things like once and you guys remember. Okay, so how do we know so much about this hiking group and their trip if they all ended up dying? How do we know so much about this and then strangely not have any answers? It's a very strange case. They wrote in diaries. Great job, Lisa. Charles, their diaries. Yes, and they took lots and lots of pictures. So we have their own evidence, guys. evidence that they collected, just like Lewis and Clark. I remember someone saying earlier, they collected data and evidence all along their trip. And when we found their tent, we found all of this stuff that we could then use as part of that investigation. Good job, guys. A few more questions and then I will open it up. What is hypothermia, everyone? What is hypothermia? What is hypothermia? Good job, guys. Very good. I see so many correct. Very good. Loss in body temperature, an extreme loss in body temperature. Very good. By the way, you don't have to be skiing in Russia for that to happen to you. It can happen. It just takes longer. It might not be quite as cold as it was there, but it could happen where I grew up. People got hypothermia all the time. Like if they got stuck outside when their car broke down, or I knew a kid that got really sick from hypothermia because he tried to walk to school in the snow and he didn't really have the right clothing on. Yeah, hypothermia can happen to just about anywhere. It just depends. If it's a little warmer than it was there, it'll take a little longer. It doesn't mean, by the way, that you're going to die, but you'll get sick. Okay. So this is a good one because I've been saying how strange this was that we don't know. What did the final investigation of this event conclude? What did the final investigation of this event conclude? What did the government say happened? Did they say anything? Let's see what answers we get here. Yeah, they died. Very good, Alina. Alina remembers. Daniel, good job. They caught it on. The government said that natural forces must have been at work. They died. The report said they died. And the report said that some sort of extreme natural force was at work. Was that an avalanche? Was it a fire? Was it? But the government report did not specify. It just said natural forces. Great job. I'm glad you guys picked up on that one word. Okay, so my last question here before I open it up was, in this, it's kind of more about you. In this story, 9 hikers set out to go about 10 kilometers one way to a remote mountain on foot in the freezing cold winter. Would you want to do this? All right. And you don't have to worry about the complete sentences. I just want to know, would you want to do this? And if you would, why? If you wouldn't, why? And if you can get someone to help you, or you, like I said, just a couple of words is enough. I want to know if you would do it. And, oh, Alina says yes. Rusi, no, I'm with you. Alina, I like your challenge. Yes, but unless I had a reason, I think I'm right with the no's. No. I just don't like cold weather. I really don't like cold weather. And I don't want to sleep in it. And I don't want to spend all day in it. So, but I guess I could if I had to. Like if I had to survive, I think we could all surprise ourselves. In general, it looks like most people, Lisa, I think I saw Alina, but most everybody else is saying no. Charles said yes too. Thanks, guys. So I saw someone who said that, I think it was Alina, that she said she liked challenges. Thank you. Daniel gave me another answer too. Some said things like, no, because I don't want to die. That's great. I don't either. But Daniel just said he actually likes the cold. He prefers the cold to the summer. Thank you for giving me your reasons, guys. I think my answer is pretty similar to the rest of you. I just don't like the cold, so I wouldn't do it. This was not my idea of fun. I like hiking in like the spring and the summer, but not like this in the cold weather. Okay, I can tell from today that I have a lot of people with a lot of questions, and we got about 4 or 5 minutes left. So what I'll do now is turn it over to our admin and see if maybe she can kind of call on you guys one by one and you can ask questions. Maybe I can answer them. Maybe I can't. Hey, Brandon.
Hi.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm great. And I would like to
Good.
ask one question, which is about the 9 people which they go out from the tent, and I was really interested in, like, they should be getting it together or travel it together or sitting off a fire, and why they're distributed so far away.
I think so. I told you there's been more recent investigations. They have tried to explain that too. They think that they were all together at one point at that fire, but then either when somebody started to get sick or die or something else happened, that's why some tried to go back to the tent and couldn't make it. And likely those 4 people that were down by the river were the last to die. And maybe they were trying to get away. They were trying, because the ones down by the river also had more clothing back on. They had their coats, some had boots. They weren't all properly dressed, but they had more. So the thought is that maybe they were the last and they were trying to like get away, the 4 of them together, which is why they were found together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Perfect.
I would like to ask one more question, is about the 9 people, and why does it's so important to look at the diary to see, to explore.
Because I think a lot of, like, you guys all have questions. You're like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. And I think a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And so the only thing we can do is look back at their words. And for example, you know, a lot of people in the area did not think the weather was that bad, like down at that village that had been kind of close by. But if you read their diaries, you can hear their description that the weather was pretty bad up on this mountain. So we need to use their words to try to understand what happened, because we can't, obviously. We're 60 years later and we're still talking about this strange story.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Brandon.
Hi.
Hey, what's
Um,
your question?
the question is like I don't think it will be a murder because there's no other footprints in the tent, or because they're only the footprints from the explorers.
Jade, you are such a smart character. Absolutely. One of the things that many people say is you can't think about, like, if there were other people there, if anyone, even aliens, we should have had footprints, unless the aliens flew, right? So
Yeah.
there should, if anyone else was involved, anybody, we would see evidence that they were there. And we don't. We see evidence of these 9 people. I do see some others, people saying, but what if it was one of them that kind of, caused problems? Maybe one of them became really crazy from the cold or something. Absolutely. We don't know. Something could have happened between the 9 hikers, but absolutely, Jade, it does not appear that anyone else was ever there.
And then like another thing is like I don't really think it's alien because there's lights on it, and then but they will take photo of the alien.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Jade. I'm just repeating some of the things that people have explained. I agree. I think it probably has a more normal explanation. Like like I said, they took a picture of the fire or the flash of a camera, or maybe even just the film was ruined by the snow and the cold. So I think there's a good explanation for it. And all I can tell you right now, even right now, there are people trying to answer absolutely what happened. There's a book and a movie being made out of it, all kinds of things. So someday you guys want to know more, you can read more as you grow up on your own. Okay?
But
Thank
maybe,
Yeah.
the movie that they made is not true.
Oh yeah, I can see that too. Absolutely. It is. I think the movie they've been trying to make a movie for many years, but they want an answer. They don't want to make a movie and say, oh, we still don't know. They really want to say, we know what happened. And unfortunately, they're still trying to figure that out. It's one of those great mysteries. Thank you, Jade and Brandon and Charles and everybody today for all of your questions. I really
Thanks a
appreciate
lot.
it. You're welcome. You're welcome, guys. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.